Li Fan was admitted to the University of God, but was beaten into a fool because of a woman. I can only stand in front of a small hotel outside the university city, watching young men and women pair up. Until one day, the beautiful landlady called him into the room. Chapter 1. The Fool of the Hotel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fool, open a king-sized room for me. At the entrance of the small inn, a young man and woman walked into the inn holding each other intimately. That woman has a tall figure, at the age of 18 or 19, and she looks like a female student from the nearby university town. And the man she was holding was in his 30s, chubby and greasy, with a pair of big hands dishonestly placed around his waist. And the fool he was shouting at was the front desk of the small inn, Li Fan. Brother, open a room, I'll open a room for you. Li Fan showed his iconic silly smile and gave the two of them a room card. The fat man deliberately teased Li Fan and said, Fool, your room is 55, but I don't have any change. I'll give you 100. How much money should you give me? Find you 45. Li Fan thought for a moment and then said with great joy. You're not stupid. The fat man handed 100 yuan to Li Fan, and Li Fan quickly gave him 45 yuan. Fool, I have change again. I'll give you 55, and you can give me back the 100 just now, said the fat man, taking the money. Upon hearing this, Li Fan immediately returned the previous 100 yuan to the chubby guy and charged him 55 yuan. Okay, I'll give it back to you. The fat man burst out laughing at the sight. Oh my God, you chubby guy is so damn smart. After speaking, he hugged the female student next to him and went to the upstairs room. The female student also pursed her lips all the way and shyly said, Darling, you're too bad. You're already driving an Audi A6, and you're lying to a fool for 45 yuan. The fat man chuckled and said, Who made him stupid? Let's go, little baby. Don't you want to buy the new iPhone 13? You'll take care of me later, and we'll go buy it tomorrow. As they entered the room and closed the door, they heard the female student let out a very charming moan. Li Fan walked from the front desk to the door of the two people's room, meeting his hands and feet. He squatted down at the door, his ears pressed against the crack of the door, and laughed foolishly. He, scold me as a fool, you guys are stupid. I can listen to you doing shy things here. The more I think about Li Fan, the happier he laughs. In fact, Li Fan is not born foolish. On the contrary, he is still a top student and has been admitted to Imperial University with very excellent grades. Unfortunately, due to a woman, he offended the local youth and was beaten into a vegetative state. He lay in the hospital for 2 months before waking up, and then he turned into this foolish appearance. Li Fan suffered such a huge upheaval, and his parents also fell ill, spending all their savings in the past 2 years. Li Fan is looking for a job everywhere, but who wants a fool? Finally, the owner of this small inn was kind-hearted and asked him to stay at the front desk. Fortunately, this small hotel is located at the entrance of the university city, and countless young couples come here every day to open their rooms. They don't care if the front desk is a fool and affects the customer base. Just as Li Fan was listening attentively outside the room, a cold voice rang out from behind. Li Fan, what are you doing? Li Fan was startled, and when he turned around, he saw a tall woman wearing a pair of flesh-colored stockings with incredibly beautiful legs staring coldly at him. This woman is in her 20s, with both fair and glossy skin of a young man and a hint of charm of a middle-aged woman. She is the owner of a small inn, Zhongyanhong. Li Fan quickly disguised himself in fear and said, Boss, I want to see if the guests need hot water. Alright, if you still want to deceive someone with your intelligence, come with me. Zhongyanhong coldly interrupted Li Fan's words and called him to an office at the end of the corridor. This is not just an office, Zhongyanhong occasionally lives here, so there is a single bed inside. Boss, what are you asking me for? Li Fan asked foolishly. Zhong Yanhong bit her red lips lightly with her teeth. Her demeanor varied, but unfortunately, Li Fan was a fool who didn't understand how tempting the charm portrayed by Zhong Yanhong was at this moment. Li Fan, wait a moment. Can you help me with something, but remember that this matter must not be told to anyone outside, okay? Hee, keeping secrets is my favorite. Li Fan said foolishly. Zhong Yanhong pursed her lips slightly upon seeing this. Then he pulled apart the shoulder straps on both sides and began to untie the fine threads around his waist. The next moment, the red dress falls to the ground. Expose a stunning and fair body. Li Fan's pupils suddenly widened. Chapter 2. The Toad Wants to Eat Swan Meat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As long as it's a woman, there will be moments of loneliness and emptiness. Zhong Yanhong is also a sad and pitiful person. When she was young, she had an outstanding appearance and fell in love with a married man. He was elegant and wealthy, and treated her very well. So Zhong Yanhong loved her wholeheartedly, but in the end, the other party abandoned her and left her alone in the empty room for many years. Old lady, boss. Li Fan looked at Zhong Yanhong dumbfounded at this moment. Her brain, which was already lacking a string, couldn't turn around even more. Li Fan, are you beautiful? Zhong Yanhong approached Li Fan step by step and said affectionately. Li Fan nodded awkwardly, feeling a constant heat and dryness throughout his body for some reason. Okay, it's so hot. I want to take a cold shower, Li Fan said before going for a shower. Zhong Yanhong grabbed Li Fan and cursed inwardly, feeling angry. A fool is such a fool. At this moment, you even want to take a shower. Xiao Fan, as long as you put your hand on your sister's body, it won't get hot. Li Fan asked incredulously, boss, you're not lying to me, are you? Hee, I'm not stupid. You're not cold water, how can you not be hot? Zhong Yanhong grabbed Li Fan's hand and placed it directly on her plump and delicate body. For a moment, Li Fan felt as if he had been hit hard in his heart. This feeling, seemed like an erupting volcano, making Li Fan's eyes turn red and his breathing heavy. A man chases a woman across a mountain, and a woman chases a man through a veil. With such a proactive boss lady, even if Li Fan is a fool, the fire is still on fire. But just then, shouts came from the corridor. Li Fan. Where are you? Zhong Yanhong quickly withdrew her hand in a panic and put on her clothes. Li Fan ran out of the room foolishly, unaware of what he had missed. Zhong Yanhong felt extremely conflicted and lost at this moment, and I am grateful. How could I have done that just now? Li Fan is a fool, she actually wanted to take action against a fool. Thinking of Zhong Yanhong's pretty face, she felt extremely embarrassed. As soon as Li Fan came out of the room, he saw a boy about his age running upstairs. Wang Kai, you're here. Li Fan exclaimed happily. Zhou Weibo silently corrected, Li Fan, I am Zhou Weibo, not Wang Kai. When will your brain recover? I'm here today to talk to you about business. I introduced you to a girlfriend, and you're already a big girl. Maybe with a new girlfriend, you can relieve the knot in your heart and completely recover. Tomorrow noon, I will pick you up and put on clean clothes. Don't talk nonsense then, just listen to me. Zhou Weibo gave Li Fan some instructions before hastily leaving. The next morning, Zhou Weibo came to look for Li Fan and saw that he was still wearing the whitewashed tank top from yesterday. Zhou Weibo said angrily, Li Fan, can you save dim sum? I asked you to find a clean clothes. Forget about you wearing mine. Zhou Weibo took off his T-shirt, put it on Li Fan, and then pulled him out. Li Fan, remember not to speak recklessly when the time comes. Even if you want to speak, find some nice words to praise the other woman. Zhou Weibo instructed Li Fan all the way and soon arrived at the coffee shop outside the university town. Li Meiqi was wearing a sexy little leather jacket today, with long black hair cascading down her head like a waterfall. Many young people in the coffee shop would occasionally peek at her, which made Lee Meichi secretly proud. What she loved even more was the newly sold iPhone 13 in her hand. Meichi, that's what I'm telling you. My good brother Lee Fan, he was admitted to the University of God with extremely excellent grades in the beginning, but there was a bit of an accident later on. Lee Meichi looked up and saw Zhou Weibo passing by with Lee Fan. She frowned and cursed at Zhou Weibo with disgust on her face. Zhou Weibo, isn't the boyfriend you're going to introduce me to be this idiot? He's only good for picking up junk, is he good for being with me? Lee Meichi's words instantly caught the attention of everyone in the coffee shop, pointing at Lee Fan for a moment. You idiot, how could you still want to rely on toads to eat swan meat and soak up such a beautiful female student? Do you want to order a pen face? Zhou Weibo quickly explained to Lee Meichi, Meichi, please don't do this. My brother was not a fool before, he was harmed by someone. Can you help him? You are so kind, beautiful, and kind-hearted. Listening to Zhou Weibo constantly praising herself, Lee Meichi's face showed a look of air. At this moment, Lee Fan pointed to the iPhone 13 in his hand and said with a silly smile, iPhone 13, yesterday she had a room with a chubby guy, and the chubby guy said to buy it for her. Chapter 3. Inheritance of Divine Eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as this sentence was spoken, everyone around showed a surprised expression. When she looked at Lee Meichi again, her gaze became different. And Lee Meichi was furious. You idiot talking nonsense, believe it or not, I tore your mouth open. Zhou Weibo was also very angry and scolded Lee Fan, don't talk nonsense. How did I tell you when I came? But Lee Fan is a fool. Fools don't have so many crooked thoughts, they just say whatever they see. Really, yesterday was the room we opened in our hotel, and I even listened for a while by prying through the door crack. Lee Meichi was filled with embarrassment and anger as she listened to Lee Fan's words, and others around her recognized Lee Fan. Isn't that the front desk of the small hotel at the entrance of the university town? He's a fool, and fools shouldn't lie. It seems that this female student is still following someone to open a room and has switched to an iPhone 13. Listening to the discussions around her, Lee Meichi's eyes turned red and she called Su Dafu with her phone. Su Dafu really doesn't care. Someone bullies me, it's in the school cafeteria. In less than 10 minutes, Su Dafu arrived with 4 or 5 big men. Lee Fan immediately jumped and slapped Su Dafu, shouting, it's him, yesterday they opened the room. Su Dafu saw Lee Fan, this fool, with a murderous intent in his eyes. You guys hit me hard, always taking money to pay for your lives. A few big men were also ruthless masters. Seeing Su Dafu speak, they immediately came forward and swung a nearby wine bottle, smashing it on Lee Fan's head. With a loud crash, the wine bottle shattered, and Lee Fan's head suddenly shot out a blood arrow, frightening everyone around him. Zhou Weibo was furious and said, what are you doing? Stop it, or I'll call the police. But before he could finish speaking, he was kicked to the ground by another big man on the side. Then 4 big men surrounded Lee Fan in the middle, punching and kicking for a moment, and Lee Fan was already holding his continuously bleeding head, curling up on the ground, barely breathing. Darling, alright, if we fight again, we'll end up dead. After all, Lee Meichi is still a student, and seeing this scene made her a little scared. Su Dafu came forward, spitting and scolding Lee Fan. Shit, a fool, you dare to offend my woman. Remember, if you dare to offend my woman in the future, I will kill you. After speaking harshly, Su Dafu hugged Lee Meichi and the others left arrogantly and proudly. Lee Fan didn't know how long had passed, but in a hazy state, he heard an incredibly powerful and majestic voice in his mind. I am a carefree wanderer, wandering the world. The chaotic energy of heaven and earth coexists with the world. If I inherit it, it will benefit all people in the world. Immediately after, he had a lot of strange and bizarre information about you in his mind. When he opened his eyes, he saw a naked beauty leaning against his bed to check the hanging bottle on his head. Suddenly, Li Fan felt a burst of heat in his body, and his nose blood flowed out in an instant. "Nurse, what's wrong with my brother? He has nosebleeds like this, isn't he seriously injured in the brain?" Zhou Weibo excitedly asked the nurse when he saw Li Fan's expression on the side. At this moment, Li Fan's eyes were blossoming with a white nurse uniform on the previously naked beauty in front of him. What was the situation just now? Do I have a perspective eye? The beautiful nurse on the side said to Zhou Weibo, he should be fine, maybe because the room is too hot. You can take him for a head CT scan later, and if there are no problems, he can be discharged at any time. The nurse finished speaking and left the room. Zhou Weibo felt extremely guilty and said to Li Fan, "I'm sorry. It's all my fault that I found Li Meiqi, a despicable woman, and caused you to be beaten." But Li Fanzhen was not listening to what he said, but was constantly trying his perspective. He found that there was an airflow inside his body, and as long as he injected the airflow into his eyes, he could achieve the effect of perspective. This made Li Fan extremely excited. He is not only foolish now, but also has gained the inheritance of perspective and carefree wandering. "Zhao Tianbao, you robbed my woman and beat me up to be a fool, causing my parents to fall seriously ill in bed and almost causing their family to perish. I will definitely avenge you for this. And it will make you double the repayment." A fierce killing intent flashed in Li Fan's eyes and he made a vow in his heart. After Li Fan came out of the hospital, he headed straight to the antique street in Linshan City. Chapter 4. 5 Blessings Copper Coins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Fan used to pass by the entrance of an antique street, but he never came in. Because there is no one in Li Fan's family who understands antiques at all. Although I often see scenes of antiques picking up leaks and making big money on TV or in novels, I always think these things are far away from me. But now it's different. He has gained perspective eyes and the ability to see through, coupled with the inheritance of the carefree wanderer. He believes that he can definitely earn his first bucket of gold in this antique street. Then he will have the money to treat his father's illness. In recent years, the antique market has become polarized, and the high-end market is extremely hot. Those wealthy tycoons constantly refresh the high prices of auctions to buy those rare treasures. The low-end antique market, on the other hand, is very sluggish. Because everyone knows that it is almost impossible to pick up leaks here. Whoever really has good things at home has already sold them to wealthy collectors who have no place to spend. So there are many stalls in this antique street, but very few people actually come to buy things. As soon as Li Fan walked in, it was like a sheep walking into a pack of wolves. The vendors were all watching Li Fan's every move. "Little brother, can I buy something? These are all treasures." Li Fan passed by a stall, and the vendor quickly smiled and started soliciting business. At this moment, Li Fan swept past the items on his stalls and suddenly discovered a stunning scene. A lot of information appeared before his eyes. Poor quality jade bracelet. Material. Poor quality. Manufacturing period. Within 1 year. Value. 20 yuan. Fake Qing Dynasty snuff bottle. Material. Synthetic glass. Manufacturing period. 2 years. Value. 10 yuan. A variety of information is written on every product. Li Fan immediately became excited. I didn't expect him to have a pair of eyes, which can not only provide perspective, but also identify these antique items. In this way, it's too easy for him to find something valuable. Li Fan's gaze swept over these small stalls one by one. Suddenly, a small wooden box attracted him. On this small stall, there is a palm-sized wooden box displaying information. During the Ming judging period, the 5 blessings Tianbao copper coins were. Li Fan immediately stepped forward and opened the box, revealing 5 extremely old copper coins inside. On the front of each copper coin, there is a blessing character engraved, but the 5 blessings characters on these 5 copper coins are not the same. Li Fan was very excited in his heart. Because the value displayed on this copper coin is surprisingly as high as 1 million. Li Fan never imagined that the day before, he was still a fool and couldn't even find a job. His parents were seriously ill and hospitalized, unable to raise medical expenses. In the blink of an eye, he was very likely to become a millionaire. How can this not make Li Fan excited? But he immediately suppressed the excitement in his heart and asked the owner of the small vendor, "Boss, how do you sell this copper coin?" The boss gave Li Fan a sharp glance. "If you buy 5 out of 10,000, I'll give you a discount of 40,800. Upon hearing this number, Li Fan immediately muttered to himself. He only has around 100 yuan in his pocket, and this boss is too dark. "Boss, can it be cheaper?" Li Fan asked. The boss smiled and said, "Little brother, this good thing is hard to come by. You need to be sincere. I'll give you 45,000 yuan, but I can't sell it for 1 less point." Li Fan never expected this boss to be so difficult to deal with, but he is not a vegetarian either. "Boss, for 100 yuan, if you agree, I'll take it. If you don't sell it, I'll leave." Li Fan turned around and was about to leave. The boss exclaimed immediately upon seeing this, "Brother, hurry up and let me stop talking nonsense to you. You can take the 2,000 yuan. At this moment, the boss even stuck the price at 2,000, which left Li Fan feeling a wave of frustration. He sighed and watched helplessly as $1 million were in front of him, but he couldn't get them. This was not acceptable. Lin Fan returned directly to the stall and pointed to the blue and white porcelain bottles on the stall, saying as if counting them. During the reign of Emperor Yongzheng of the Qing dynasty, the cloisonné vase had clear patterns and delicate body, making it a rare and excellent product with an estimated market price of around 200,000 yuan. The vendor immediately praised the protagonist upon hearing this and said, "Little brother, expert, can you tell?" The protagonist immediately sneered and scolded, "Damn it. This is what you just made last week. In order to make it old, you even soaked it in urine. Is it produced by the small workshop in the north of the city?" The vendor was blinded by this sudden sharp turn. "Kid, don't talk nonsense, I'm all treasures," the vendor snapped. Li Fanzhen ignored the threat from the vendor and continued speaking on his own. "That jade pendant, glass body, right. I've been making it for half a year, but it still can't be sold. And there is also that calligraphy book. The seal was written by Song Ku, a calligrapher from the Ming dynasty. In fact, it should have been written by a student from the Academy of Fine Arts. Although the font is elegant, it is obviously from a background in painting, and there is no rhyme in the font." Li Fan's words attracted many other customers in the surrounding area, pointing and nodding at the small vendors. "The vendor is really shocked now," Li Fan said. "Everything right. How did he know about this? It's normal for you to say that a master with good eyesight can distinguish between truth and falsehood. Li Fan can even reveal the origin, production time, and even who made these counterfeits. This is too scary. Little brother, don't say anything, I'll give you this copper coin." The vendor dare not let Li Fan continue, and if he continues, he will stop doing this business. Quickly picked up the box of copper coins and handed it to Li Fan. Anyway, this broken copper coin was collected by him for 10 yuan from an old man picking up scrap. It's not worth any money. But Li Fan said with a righteous tone, "That won't work. I'll spend money to buy it for 100 yuan, and even if it's too much, it won't work." Li Fan directly stuffed the money into the vendor's hand and then quickly left with the copper coins. It wasn't until he walked out for more than 10 minutes that Li Fan finally breathed a sigh of relief, and his small heart started pounding uncontrollably. Just now, I didn't feel anything because I was nervous. But now Li Fan is filled with mixed emotions as he thinks he will soon have 1 million. Previously, this 1 million was an unattainable existence for him and even their family. But now, he's within reach. Next, what Li Fan needs to do is to monetize these 5 copper coins. In this antique street, there are all these small vendors in front, but when you walk inside, there are big shops. There are still 2 or 3 stories of quaint buildings preserved here, most of which have a history of over 100 years, and some even existed during the Qing dynasty. Li Fan found the store with the largest appearance. Tianbao Pavilion, and walked into it. A few guys wearing short shirts noticed that Li Fan was wearing simple clothes and didn't seem to be coming to buy anything, so no one paid attention. But Li Fan doesn't care either. As long as he can sell copper coins and get 1 million, that's good. Li Fan was about to ask who was in charge when another person came in from behind. A gust of fragrant wind swept over my face. The refreshing taste made Li Fan's whole body feel a bit refreshed. Chapter 5. Gambling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is Boss Chui here? A pleasant voice sounded from behind Li Fan, and then a beautiful figure walked quickly past him. Miss Qin is here, please come inside. Mr. Chui is here, and I will help you get him. A few guys immediately surrounded the beautiful girl with a pleasing expression on their faces, serving tea and water meticulously. Immediately after, a middle-aged man in his 40s with golden-framed glasses walked out of it. The middle-aged man laughed and said, "So Miss Qin has arrived. What good things did she bring me this time?" This beautiful woman, as beautiful as a fairy, is recognized by Li Fan, and it is Qin Xiaoro, the school flower of Xiaoludian University City. Before, Li Fan was a fool. When he met Qin Xiaoro, he thought this sister was very beautiful. But a goddess of this level wouldn't even glance at him. Li Fan now recalled in his mind that every time he saw Qin Xiaoro walking past the hotel entrance, he had fantasized about when Qin Xiaoro would come to their hotel to open a room, and then he would squat at the door and eavesdrop on Qin Xiaoro's voice. "Boss Chui, how about my gilded enamel from the Kangxi period?" Qin Xiaoro carefully took out an incredibly exquisite enamel gilded bottle from the box she brought with her and asked Boss Chui with some pride. Boss Chui looked up and down and exclaimed in amazement, "Miss Qin, your enamel-colored gilded bottle is definitely of the best quality, probably worth between 3 to 5 million. Really? That's great." Qin Xiaoro was overjoyed upon hearing this. Their family is engaged in antique business, and they have been exposed to and learned a lot from their grandfather and father since childhood. But over the years, she has always been unable to find good treasures and has been scolded by her father for it. The most crucial thing is that her father always says that there is no heir in the family, and she must find a son-in-law who is of the right family to inherit the family business, otherwise it will be left in her hands, and this property will eventually be lost. So Qin Xiaoro has always been working hard, hoping to gain her father's recognition and take charge of her own family business, instead of being manipulated by her father to marry someone she doesn't like. Li Fan was also on the side at this moment, staring at the bottle, and suddenly the information about it appeared in front of him. This bottle is actually fake. Li Fan didn't understand whether Boss Chui was intentionally deceiving Qin Xiaoro, or if he didn't see it either. After some thought, Li Fan still spoke on the side. "This bottle is a counterfeit." A stone stirred up 1,000 waves, and both Mr. Chui and Qin Xiaoro turned their heads, frowning and looking at Li Fan. Boss Chui angrily scolded, "Kid, are you questioning my eyesight? I, Chui Tianhai, in this antique street, don't say that my eyesight is the first, and there are few people who can be stronger than me. You need to know the consequences and costs you will pay for saying this." Chui Tianhai's words carry a strong sense of threat and warning. If it were in the past when Li Fan did not receive the inheritance of Xiaoyao Sanren, he would not dare to offend such a character, but now it is different. Li Fan's face remained calm, and his tone remained calm as he said, "What is fake is fake. If you break the sky, you will also take a glance." Li Fan's words made Cui Tianhai very angry. How many people in the antique industry of Linshan City dare to talk to him like this? Besides, Li Fan is just a young boy in his early 20s. At this moment, Li Fan also looked at Qin Xiaoro and said with a smile, "Qin University's school flower, where did you find this bottle? How much did it cost? Do you know me?" Qin Xiaoro furrowed her brows even tighter and asked Li Fan in a cold voice. Li Fan smiled and said, "I work at the hotel at the entrance of the university town. Who doesn't know Qin University's campus flower?" Upon hearing Li Fan's words, Qin Xiaoro suddenly felt a hint of disgust in her heart. As the school flower, she is always the focus wherever she goes. At school, all the boys were eager to show themselves in front of her, hoping to attract her attention, and she now seriously suspects that Li Fan is the same. So she had no good impression of Li Fan. "I don't care what your purpose is, are you using antiques to approach me? You miscalculated, I really dislike people who joke with antiques." Li Fan suddenly felt extremely unhappy in his heart. He kindly told Qin Xiaoro that the bottle was fake, but instead of thanking her, he treated her coldly. The feeling of this hot face pressing against the cold buttocks is really not good. Cui Tianhai spoke angrily from the side at this moment, "Miss Qin, I must have an explanation for this matter today. If you dare to cause trouble at my Tianbao pavilion, you will have to pay the price." He turned to Li Fan and said, "Kid, you said this porcelain vase is a fake. Alright, you can prove it to me. If you can prove it, everyone is safe. But if you can't prove it, according to the rules of our antique world, if you come to smash my place, you must pay the corresponding price. No matter what I ask you to do, you must agree." Li Fan laughed as soon as he heard it. Cui Tianhai is really strong. Do you think Li Fan is a soft persimmon that can be easily kneaded? Okay, we need to be fair. If I lose, you can ask me to do anything, but if I win, you have to promise me something unconditionally. Chapter 6. Father's Critical Illness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, no problem. Cui Tianhai, as a well-known figure in the antique industry of Linshan City, naturally wouldn't be afraid of Li Fan, this furry kid. Now you come to prove it. As Li Fan spoke, he held the enamel-colored gilded bottle in his hand and spoke confidently. The enamel-colored gilded vase, which emerged during the Ming dynasty, has always been favored by high-ranking officials and nobles. Due to its bright colors and exquisite styles, it reached its peak in the mid-Qin dynasty. The top-notch enamel colors that are currently circulating are almost all products of the Qin dynasty. The art of gilding was already very mature during the Han and Tang dynasties in China. The enamel-colored gilding bottle combines the two techniques, adding a touch of nobility and elegance to the brightly colored enamel. Cui Tianhai and Qin Xiaoro were both surprised to hear Li Fan mention the craftsmanship and origin of the enamel-colored gilded vase, as if it were a precious treasure. They thought Li Fan was just a frivolous little boy who was trying to impress others and didn't understand anything. Even if you know the origin of the enamel-colored gilded vase, how about it? To determine its authenticity, it's not just about searching for some information on Baidu. This requires decades of appraisal experience, relying on true skills. Li Fan immediately smiled and said, "Don't worry, Boss Cui. I'll tell you where he's off." When firing this enamel-colored gilded vase, two processes need to be carried out simultaneously, namely glazing and gilding. But because the craftsmanship in ancient China was not as advanced as it is now, during the simultaneous firing process, the clay would first soften, and in the middle and later stages, gold would gradually soften and blend into the clay. So the most important thing to identify gilded ceramics is to see if there is any gold left behind during firing inside the bottle. How should this be identified? Qin Xiaoro asked in confusion. After all, people don't have a perspective eye, how can they see inside the body of this porcelain vase? Will there be gold seeping in? Li Fan said, and directly threw the porcelain bottle in his hand onto the ground. With a loud bang, the porcelain vase split into pieces. What are you doing? Kid, do you know how much this porcelain bottle costs? Can you afford to compensate? Qin Xiaoro and Cui Tianhai were shocked by the situation and angrily rebuked Li Fan at the same time. Li Fan, on the other hand, calmly picked up the fragments on the ground and placed them in front of the two of them. Look for yourself, there is no residue of gold inside this bottle. It is obvious that it is a product from the modern advanced industrial era. Cui Tianhai quickly took the fragment and carefully examined it, only to find that it was indeed the case. He was immediately dumbfounded. Did I really misread? Qin Xiaoro was also extremely disappointed. She thought she had really found something good this time and wanted to go back and show off to her father, but she didn't expect it to be a fake again. Young man, I lost. You tell me, what should I do? I, Cui Tianhai, will do whatever I say and never break my promise. Cui Tianhai, also a person who admits to gambling and accepts defeat, looked up firmly and said to Li Fan. Li Fan grinned and took out the 5 copper coins from his arms, placing them on the counter and saying, my request is very simple. I'll sell you this set of 5 blessings Tianbao copper coins for 1 million. Cui Tianbao quickly held the copper coin in his hand, carefully identified it, and said with a random and joyful expression, indeed, it is the 5 blessings Tianbao. 1 million is indeed worth the market price. Young man, you're not asking me to handle things, you're delivering business to me. At this moment, Cui Tianhai felt his old face turn a little red, and he felt an extra favor towards Li Fan in his heart. This young man is young, with extraordinary eyesight, and most importantly, he does not have the domineering demeanor of other young people. Even if he wins this competition, he doesn't feel complacent about it, even if he takes an inch to save face for this old guy. So he immediately deposited 1 million yuan into Li Fan's bank account. Suddenly, a text message from Li Fan's bank was sent. Your agricultural bank account ending in 4576 completed a transfer transaction of 1 million renminbi on May 5 at 1014.25, with a balance of 1,045,000 renminbi. Looking at all the zeros displayed above, Li Fan was extremely excited in his heart. This is the largest amount of money he has ever seen since childhood. He never dared to expect that one day he would transfer so much money into his bank account. But what excites him even more now is that with the inheritance of Xiaoyao Sanren and these prospective eyes, he can still earn more money in the future. Having received the money, Li Fan is now in a hurry to go to the hospital to treat his parents. But as soon as he arrived at the entrance of the antique shop, he was stopped by Qin Xiaoro. Wait a moment, Qin Xiaoro said with a cold and proud expression on her face. Qin University Flower, do you have anything else to do? Li Fan asked in confusion. He didn't think Qin University Flower would like him, as the difference in their identities was too significant. Moreover, he had been kind enough to help this woman before, but he didn't get a good face. He didn't have a good impression of Qin Xiaoro in his heart. This woman is just looking better. Qin Xiaoro was also very unhappy to see Li Fan respond with such an impatient attitude. She is the school belle of college students, and many boys get excited when she says a word to them. They take the initiative to stop this guy, but he is still impatient. Where did you find your 5 blessings Tianbao? How much did it cost? Qin Xiaoro asked Li Fan in a commanding tone. Li Fan suddenly lost his temper and said coldly, this seems to have nothing to do with you. You should first take care of your own affairs. Li Fan glanced at the emerald green jade bracelet on her frosty and snowy wrist and said, your jade bracelet is also a counterfeit. If you don't believe it, you can go back and have a good appraisal. After speaking, Li Fan turned around and left. Stop and speak clearly, Qin Xiaoro shouted to Li Fan with a cold face. But Li Fan didn't look back either. Watching Li Fan go far away, Qin Xiaoro was very angry. This guy dares to treat himself like this. But she immediately looked at the jade bracelet on her wrist, her face becoming solemn. This jade bracelet is the treasure of their Qin Group store, how could it be fake? Thinking of this, she hurriedly boarded her fiery red Ferrari. She needs to go home quickly and make it clear to her father. Li Fan, carrying a bank card with a balance of 1 million yuan, happily took a taxi and headed straight to the hospital. With this money, his father's serious illness can be cured, his mother's health can also be improved, and his sister no longer has to drop out of school for tuition fees. Their family's life will become very good. But just then, Li Fan received a call from his mother. "Xiao Fan, where are you? Hurry up and go back to the hospital. Your father is almost exhausted." Then, a sharp and sarcastic voice came over the phone. "What are you doing calling that fool for? Even if you tell him that his father is going to die, he probably doesn't understand what's going on." Chapter 7. Unrighteous Family and Friends. You are listening at novelfull.audio. His second aunt, how could you say that about Xiaofan? He's your own nephew. Li Fan's mother trembled and argued for her son. My nephew. He's just a fool. The contemptuous words of the second aunt made Li Fan's heart ache. He tightly held his phone, really unable to imagine how much injustice and suffering his parents had suffered for him over the years after passing away. As a human son, I have caused such humiliation to my parents. Li Fan felt that he was too unfilial. Now that he has obtained these prospective divine eyes, he vows never to let his parents suffer any more injustice. The taxi drove directly to the entrance of the hospital, and when Li Fan arrived at the operating room, he saw the entire operating room in chaos. Li Fan's uncles, aunts, uncles, aunts, and others were blocking the door of the operating room, preventing medical staff from pushing his father forward. Patient's family, do you really want to undergo surgery? Hurry up and make way, otherwise this patient may not be able to hold on, the medical staff said to Li Fan's mother with a very serious expression. At this moment, Li Fan's mother Zheng Cuiping and sister Li Nian were covered in tears. They constantly plead with their uncles, aunts, and others. His second aunt, please be kind and quickly let Lao Li into the operating room, otherwise it's really over. He's your own younger brother. But the second aunt's expression was devoid of any human nature, and her tone was cold and sarcastic. Do you still have surgery? Zheng Cuiping, tell me for yourself, how much money do you owe us? The total amount of 00 is almost 500,000 yuan, and once this surgery is performed, it costs another 100,000 yuan. It's hard to say whether it can be cured or not. We don't care if he dies, but you have to give us back the money. His second aunt, our family really has no money left, Li Fan's mother cried. On the side, Li Fan's uncle sneered and said, if you don't have money, you can still have surgery for 100,000 yuan. Do your family really want to show their respect? I don't have enough surgical expenses, we only paid 20,000 yuan, Zheng Cuiping blushed and said shyly. It's only natural to repay debts. Doctor, we won't do this surgery anymore. Hurry up and refund the surgery fee to us. Speaking, the elderly aunt on the side actually reached out her hand to unplug the ventilator tube inserted into Li Fan's father's body. Seeing this scene, everyone was frightened. Zheng Cuiping almost rolled her eyes and passed out. Until this moment, Li Fan rushed forward and grabbed Aunt Da's hand, scolding coldly, what are you doing? The big aunt, who was grabbing with tremendous force, felt a pain in her hand and immediately let out a painful cry. But when she saw Li Fan, this little fool, she immediately cursed, Li Fan, you idiot, quickly let go of me. Xiao Fan, you're back. Seeing their son coming, Zheng Cuiping and Li Nian's mother and daughter seemed to have found their backbone. But as soon as she thought about her son being a fool now, her eyes were filled with sadness and despair. At this moment, Li Fan tightly grasped his aunt's hand and protected his father's bed, saying in a very serious and deep voice, "Today, who dared to touch my father?" At this moment, Li Fan exuded an incredibly fierce aura, which actually intimidated uncle, auntie, second aunt, and others. However, my second aunt's reaction was quick. She pointed at Li Fan and shouted loudly, "Hurry up, come on, you idiot." The security guard from the nearby hospital rushed up quickly. "What's going on?" the security guard asked. "He's a fool, he wants to hit someone," the second aunt pointed at Li Fan and shouted. Li Fan's gaze fell on his second aunt, with a raging anger burning in his heart. "Second aunt, uncle, and sister-in-law, do you still want to show face? My dad is going into the operating room now, and you are blocking him here. What's the difference between this and a murderer? Have you forgotten how my parents treated you before?" Li Fan's words were full of disappointment, recounting the ups and downs over the years. "Uncle, when you got married to your aunt, there was no money at home. My parents gave you their wedding room and asked you to get married. You can rent a house outside and live on your own. There are also 2 aunts and 2 aunts. When I was a child, my cousin had a fever of 40 degrees. It was my father who carried her all the way from your town to the county hospital for treatment. The soles of her shoes were worn out and blood was dripping from her feet. You and your second uncle don't have time to take care of your cousin because they have to work. It's my mother who stays in front of the hospital bed day and night. And auntie, when your son had a concussion at school and compensated him with 200,000 yuan, it was my parents who pieced together money to help you make up for it. And now my father is lying on the hospital bed, about to die, but you don't let him enter the operating room. Are these things that people can do?" Faced with Li Fan's powerful questioning, the second aunt immediately sneered and said, "Li Fan, I have completely seen your family. I won't let go of such a small favor. I admit that your family has helped us before, but so what? Did I beg for your help? Didn't you rush to help yourself? Just because your family has helped us, can we not repay the money now? If we don't repay the money today, no one will want to have surgery on him." Faced with the shameless faces of his second aunt and uncle, Li Fan's heart was cold and indifferent. The ancient said it really well. The rich play with swords, guns, and sticks in the deep mountains and forests, unable to scatter their unjust friends. Poor people stand at crossroads playing with 10 steel hooks, unable to hook their loved ones. Aren't you just asking for money? All right, I'll return all the money to you today. From now on, we will sever ties and have no further relationship. After hearing Li Fan's words, the second aunt and others couldn't help but burst into laughter. "You idiot, you're not good enough to say such big things. Do you know how much money your family borrowed from us? 500,000, can you afford it? What do you want to pay back?" Xiaofan. Zheng Suiping also held her son's hand, afraid that his son would speak recklessly. After all, their family's current situation is really difficult to come up with 500,000 yuan, and even the 20,000 yuan for surgery was borrowed from her online loan. "Mom, don't worry, let me handle this matter." Li Fan took out his phone and opened online banking, saying to his aunt and others, "Tell me your account, and I will transfer money to you now." Upon seeing Li Fan's serious statement, the second aunt immediately gave him her card number. Then, with a good expression on his face, he said, "Okay, you can transfer it. I'll tell you, if this money can't be transferred today, this matter won't be over." Chapter 8. Unscrupulous Quack Doctor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as she finished speaking, she heard a text message prompt sound on her phone. My second aunt quickly opened the text message and immediately widened her eyes. Auntie on the side also stretched her head and looked at it, then exclaimed in shock, 500,000, where did you get so much money?" Li Fan said in a deep voice, "You can't control it. I have already paid back this 500,000 yuan. Now, get out of here right away." After receiving the money, the second aunt and others were very happy and said with a smile, do you think we love this place? People are almost dead, and we are afraid of getting all our bad luck. Let's go back and take a shower and change clothes quickly. Xiaofan, don't blame your aunt for not reminding you. You idiot, you were supposed to be useless in the second half of your life. Probably no woman is willing to be with you, right? Unless that woman is also a fool, disabled or something like that. If you have some money, hurry up and marry a wife. Don't waste it on a dead person. Get lost. Li Fan's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and he gritted his teeth and shouted out the word. The second aunt and a few others immediately sneered and left, and they saw Li Fang'o biting LV Dongbin. These people didn't even take a glance at Li Qingshan lying unconscious in the hospital bed. Just then a cold voice suddenly sounded. The patient is no longer breathing, the patient's family members please mourn. Suddenly, Zheng Suiping and Li Nian's faces turned pale. But Li Fan quickly looked at his father. After obtaining the inheritance of Xiaoyao Sanren, Li Fan was not only able to use his perspective eyes to identify antiques, but also to use his perspective eyes to treat illnesses and save lives. Doctor, please make sure to save my dad, Li Nian pleaded with tears on her delicate face, pleading with the doctor. Zheng Suiping also said in a trembling tone, Doctor, he's still angry. You need to think of a way. But the middle-aged doctor's face was full of disdain and disgust, and he impatiently waved his hand and said, Don't bother, you can't even afford the surgery. What disease are you treating? I almost got killed by you just now. I had surgery and didn't pay enough money. Do you want me to make up for it? Also, do you know how many more days the patient will stay in the ICU after the surgery? The daily treatment fee is a sky-high price that you cannot afford. Upon hearing these words, Li Fan's eyes turned red. As a doctor, it is the duty and responsibility of a doctor to treat and save lives, as well as to save lives and injuries. Li Fan can understand that hospitals and doctors also need to make money and support their families, but there is also a bottom line to making money. A doctor who can say such reckless words, not to mention a doctor, he is not even worthy of being a person. Doctor, I'm kneeling for you, I'm kowtowing for you, I'm begging you to save my husband. Zheng Suiping suddenly knelt down on both knees, constantly kowtowing and begging for mercy to the doctor in front of her. But as the doctor stood there, he remained motionless, as if Zheng Suiping had knelt down to beg him. Even if you knock yourself to death here, it's useless. I won't perform surgery on your husband. He died on the operating table, which will be a big stain on my career. I see you're just a useless quack. Li Fan's face turned cold at this moment and angrily rebuked the doctor. After hearing this, the doctor suddenly changed his mind and pointed at Li Fan, cursing, Where did you come from, little beast? Dare to act recklessly in my hospital. Security guard, kick him out of me. I will never cure your father's illness. I tell you, your father's death today has a lot to do with you. It was you, an unfilial son, who caused his death. Zheng Suiping was extremely anxious at this moment, holding Li Fan's hand and saying, Xiaofan, how could you talk to the doctor like that? Apologize to the doctor quickly. Li Fan sneered and said, Mom, he's a quack doctor and can't cure my dad's illness at all. There's no need to apologize to him. I'll treat my dad's illness. As he spoke, Li Fan stepped forward to look at his father on the hospital bed. Suddenly, all the information about my father was revealed. Li Qingshan. Male. 42 years old. The physical condition is extremely poor. Cause. Overexertion leading to myocardial infarction. Treatment method. Use the small soul reviving hand to unblock the 13 major acupoints in the patient's cardiovascular system, unblock and block blood vessels, and ensure unobstructed blood supply to the heart. Immediately after, Li Fan's mind immediately came up with the technique of using the little revival resurrection hand. I saw Li Fan's right hand with 10 fingers and middle fingers together, and his fast hand speed, constantly tapping on the acupoint at Li Qingshan's heart. With each click, Li Qingshan's body trembled as if performing defibrillation first aid. Upon seeing this scene, the doctor beside him immediately turned cold and scolded Li Fan, "Kid, what are you doing? Stop it quickly, or else the patient will die. Our hospital will not bear any responsibility, and we will also bear the legal responsibility for murder." But Li Fan didn't bother to talk to him at all. I saw Li Fan's fingers moving the acupoints faster and faster, and in the end, there were even remnants, as if 5 or 6 hands were simultaneously clicking on Li Qingshan's acupoints. When Li Fan finally touched the center of Li Qingshan's heart, he saw Li Qingshan, who was unconscious and pale, suddenly spewing out a mouthful of black blood. Chapter 9. Li Fan's Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Then, he woke up completely. Where am I? Xiaofan. Why did you come over? Didn't I ask you to work well at that hotel? The landlady kindly took you in, but we can't let them down. After Li Qingshan opened his eyes, he saw his foolish son who was suffering a lot. With a loving expression in his eyes, he spoke a series of words. Li Fan's eyes immediately turned red and he almost cried out. My father has just walked through the gates of hell, and the first thing he does when he wakes up is to care about him. This is fatherly love. Although as a man, Li Qingshan rarely says any caring words like his mother in his daily life, Li Fan knows that his father has been silently giving for him. Dad, don't worry, I won't do anything wrong to the boss's wife. In the future, I will work hard to repay her. How do you feel about your health? If it's okay, we'll go home. Xiaofan. Your brain is good now. Upon hearing his son speak so logically and clearly, Li Qingshan immediately became excited. Even Jingsuaping on the side just realized it. My own son seems really not foolish. Li Fan nodded with a smile and said, Dad, Mom, I'm fine now. Really? Brother, it's really great. Our family can be reunited again. Li Nian saw his brother's brain improve, and his father woke up from his coma. He cried excitedly for a moment. The doctor on the side was already stunned at this moment. A patient who is already on the verge of death, how could he just be cured after being randomly ordered by this kid? At this moment, several nurses quickly pushed an unconscious old man towards the operating room. Dr. Zhao is not doing well. Hurry up and give him first aid. This patient has congenital heart disease. What? Hurry up and prepare for the surgery. Dr. Zhao's face changed immediately upon hearing this. The nurse next to him couldn't help but speak and instructed, Dr. Zhao, this old man's identity is not simple. He was just personally instructed by the dean on the phone. We must cure his illness and never let him have any problems in our hospital. Upon hearing these words, Dr. Zhao immediately began to ponder the identity of the old man. You should know that the director of their hospital is at the same level as the city leaders, and a patient who can make the director pay such attention must have an extraordinary identity. If he succeeds in this surgery, his future prospects are limitless. Recently, the hospital is considering the candidate for vice president, maybe he can soar to fame from now on. Quickly, prepare for the cardiac surgery. Dr. Zhao immediately instructed the nearby nurses to prepare for the surgery. Li Fan, who was about to help his parents leave, glanced unintentionally at the old man on the hospital bed and suddenly stopped in place. The reason why this old man passed out was not because of his congenital heart disease. Li Fan originally didn't want to meddle in his affairs. But after hesitating for a moment, he still spoke up. Because of the inheritance of Xiaoyao Sanren in becoming a doctor, one must fulfill the responsibility of a doctor. He cannot undergo cardiac surgery, otherwise he will die, Li Fan said solemnly. Unexpectedly, after hearing Li Fan's words, Dr. Zhao immediately shouted, Hurry up and get out of the hospital. I don't care if your father is dead or alive, I'll let you do whatever you want, but my patient won't be able to talk nonsense yet. Li Fan frowned and reiterated, his coma this time has nothing to do with his congenital heart disease, but rather due to cerebral hemorrhage leading to insufficient blood supply to the heart. He fell into a coma. Dr. Zhao ignored Li Fan's words and directly had the old man pushed into the operating room. Li Fan turned his head to his parents and said, "Mom and Dad, can we wait here for a while? Otherwise, that old man might be killed by a quack doctor." Although Li Fan's parents do not know why their son suddenly learned medical skills, they also believe that saving a person's life is better than building a level 7 pagoda. After about 5 or 6 minutes, the door to the operating room opened. Doctors and nurses kept coming and going, looking extremely anxious. Li Fan immediately grabbed a nurse and asked, "What's going on inside? Is there a problem?" The nurse hesitated. Li Fan immediately shouted, "Speak up, it's almost too late." The nurse said with a crying voice, "The patient's heart is bleeding profusely and is about to die." At this moment, Li Fan didn't care about anything else and rushed directly into the operating room. Dr. Zhao was sweating profusely, constantly busy in front of the operating bed, trying to stop the old man's bleeding. But no matter how hard he tries, he can't stop it at all. Upon seeing Li Fan enter, Dr. Zhao became furious and cursed at him, "Little beast, who let you into the operating room?" Li Fan sneered and said, "If I don't come in, you'll have to deal a big deal." At this moment, the instrument next to it showed that the old man's blood pressure dropped rapidly and his heartbeat almost stopped. Li Fan quickly approached and used acupoint tapping to seal all the blood vessels around the old man's heart. Suddenly, the old man's bleeding stopped. Immediately after, Li Fan asked in a deep voice to the medical staff beside him, "Do you have a silver needle? Give me a silver needle quickly." Several medical staff turned to Dr. Zhao one after another. This is an operating room and outsiders are not allowed in. But Dr. Zhao's face flashed with a hint of malice, and he ordered several medical staff, "Give him the silver needle." A young doctor next to him quickly said with concern, "Director Zhao, what should he do if he causes any problems with the patient?" Dr. Zhao immediately whispered in an extremely sinister voice, "This old man is definitely not going to survive. If he dies on our operating table, we won't be able to explain it for a long time. I'm sure he'll have to take off his clothes in the future. But now it's different. No matter what problems people have, it's none of our business, do you understand?" Ah! The little doctor immediately understood Dr. Zhao's words. Dr. Zhao is going to shift all the responsibility onto this unlucky guy who emerged from somewhere unknown. So, the medical staff prepared a silver needle for Li Fan. Li Fan held a silver needle and quickly inserted it into the old man's head and heart like a butterfly piercing through flowers. Chapter 10. Removing the Silver Needle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. If someone could observe carefully, they would find that when these silver needles pierced the acupoints on the elderly skin, the tail of the silver needle sways with an extremely fast and extremely small amplitude. This set of acupuncture and moxibustion techniques is called yin-yang longevity acupuncture. It is said that it is the acupuncture method of Thai hospital, and it was specially used to serve ancient emperors. Unfortunately, it has long been lost, and only Li Fan can use this needle in today's world. Subsequently, Li Fan used the surgical needle and thread prepared by the nearby doctor to suture the incision at the old man's heart. Then, I saw the electrocardiogram, which was already about to hit the limit, beating again with activity. The elderly's blood pressure is gradually rising and recovering. Breathing becomes stable, and the complexion begins to appear rosy. Upon seeing this scene, Dr. Zhao and others widened their eyes. This dying person was actually saved. Then, I saw the old man on the hospital bed coughing twice, with a strong urge to wake up. Dr. Zhao's expression immediately rejoiced upon seeing it. At this point, the door of the operating room was pushed open. The director of the city hospital, Hu Fongtai, walked into the operating room with a middle-aged man and asked, "Director Zhao, how is Mr. Chen's condition? Dr. Zhao's face immediately showed respect when he saw Dean Hu and the middle-aged man beside him. Because he knew that the middle-aged man's identity was extremely extraordinary. Chen Hongyan, chairman of Chen Group and the richest person in the city. This is not the key. What surprised Dr. Zhao even more was that everyone knew that Chen Hongyan's father was the commander-in-chief of Linshan City. Leader. Isn't that to say that the old gentleman on the hospital bed is Dr. Zhao quickly walked forward and excitedly said, Dean, Mr. Chen's life is not a big deal anymore. He will wake up soon. After hearing this, Chen Hongyan was immediately overjoyed and said to the dean beside him, your hospital is really full of talents. Dr. Zhao, thank you for your hard work. Dr. Zhao is extremely excited in his heart. Being able to receive praise from Mr. Chen, his future is limitless. At this moment, Dean Hu looked at Li Fan beside him and frowned. This person is not from their hospital, why is he in this operating room? Dean Hu asked Dr. Zhao, Director Zhao, who is this? Upon hearing this, Dr. Zhao immediately turned his eyes and said, Dean, this is a patient's family member. I will have someone drive him out. As he spoke, Dr. Zhao scolded Li Fan directly, get out. This is an important area in the operating room. If you come here again and cause trouble, you can't afford to make a mistake. Li Fan frowned tightly, with an unhappy expression. Dr. Zhao's attitude made him very angry. If it weren't for his intervention, the old man would have died a long time ago. Dr. Zhao, the attending physician, naturally has to be implicated in the disease. This Dr. Zhao, without thanking or saying anything, actually turns his face and doesn't recognize anyone. Li Fan frowned tightly and pointed to the silver needle on the old man's body, coldly instructing, within 2 hours, you must not pull it out, otherwise. Before he could finish speaking, Dr. Zhao had already brought someone up and directly pushed Li Fan out of the operating room. If you dare to stay and cause trouble again, be careful not to break your dog leg. After Dr. Zhao finished speaking, he slammed the door of the operating room. Li Fan is so angry in his heart. The parents on the side walked up and grabbed Li Fan, saying, all right Xiaofan, let's not argue with the ordinary people. Let's go settle the hospitalization expenses and go home. Upon hearing this, Li Fan nodded and said, okay, I'll go and pay for my medical expenses. Then I'll go home. Our family of 4 can finally reunite. Thinking of this, Li Fan's anger also dissipated a bit. Anyway, now that he has inherited the tradition of being a carefree individual and cured his parents, their family will definitely have a good life in the future. In the operating room, Chen Hongyan approached his father and asked, Dr. Zhao, when will the silver needle on my father's body be pulled out? It can't be stuck like this all the time. There's a phone call from the city asking him to go back and take charge of work. After hearing this, Dr. Zhao nodded repeatedly and said, Mr. Chen, rest assured that Mr. Chen's illness is no longer a problem. I will help you remove the silver needle now.